The Broadway Melody is the Best Picture Oscar winner of 1929. It's directed by Harry Beaumont and it follows these two sisters, Queenie and Hank, as they try to make their way through the theatre circuit. They want to get on the theatre circuit and become big, kind of famous live acts, Broadway acts. One of these ladies, Hank, played by Bessie Love, she is kind of with this guy, Eddie, who happens to know one of the big shot producers in the Broadway circuit, and he's full of promises. Basically, he's going to get them in the door, he's going to get them on stage, this, that and the other. And yeah, the film is all about that. Are they going to make it? Are they not? And does anybody care by the end of it? Probably not. This isn't a good film, right? I have one positive to say about it, one positive, and that is Bessie Love. So Bessie Love plays one of the sisters. She plays Hank. She is the ugly one, if you can say that. Whether it's because beauty standards have changed over the years, I don't know. But I look at these two sisters, and Hank to me is the one that is by far the most attractive. Yeah, give me Bessie Love over Anita Page, certainly based on this film, any day of the week. Now you may not think that matters a right lot. Brian, why are you making a big deal out of the looks of these two women? Is that not a bit sexist? Well, yeah, partly it is. But so much of the film's story hinges on the fact that men turn their heads at Anita Page, just how beautiful she is. And Hank is kind of like the one that, yeah, she's the mouthy, like, got a bit of an attitude sister that no one really cares about. And even her boyfriend kind of, yeah, claps eyes on her sister and his head is suddenly turned like that. Like, boom, he's just, ooh, okay, goodbye you. Now I want to have an affair with your sister. But yeah, Bessie Love as Hank, she's great. She's got the sass. She plays a lot of scenes where, you know, she's able to be humorous but also feel like a real character. She's the one who does a lot of the fighting. She's, you know, like with regards to like getting into scrapes with people, arguments with people, like kind of fighting the corner for her and her sister. She's the one with, I would say, the most moral centre out of any of the characters in the film. So yeah, she's likeable. The performance is easily the best. There's one particular sequence where she breaks down in a dressing room where I'm like, you know what? That's good acting. We've got to bear in mind, this is only a couple of years, a few years into the talking picture. 2 years into the talking picture. The whole industry was changing at this point. We were moving away from the silent era in which it had to be large, theatrical, convey these massive emotions on your face because you weren't talking. And you see the result of that in the performances of a lot of these early pictures where even though they're talking, even though we can hear them, they're still going large. And there's some performances like that in this film. In fact, most of the performances are like that in this film. But she doesn't. She has a lot of subtlety. There are moments when she can go large. There are moments when she's meant to be humorous. She does a lot of bit of like slapstick kind of stuff. But then you have this sequence with her in the dressing room where it's brought right down. It's really intimate. And I think she gives a really genuinely good performance. Again, within context of actors having to learn to do things in different ways within what, you know, the talkies, so to speak. So yeah, Bessie Love, really great in this movie, but that is my only standout. Now, as I've already mentioned, we've got all these men who their heads are being turned by Anita Page's character because she's so beautiful. And unfortunately, it highlights the fact that every male character in this film is either a sleazebag that I really don't want to identify with, or they are a bumbling buffoon and holding up a particular stereotype that's, I think, is there for amusement purposes, but isn't funny the first time you see it. So by the time it comes on for the 20th time, it really isn't funny. We have this man stammering his way through the whole film, and it's there purely for humour purposes. You know, unless this is what counted for inclusion back in 1929. We have this guy, he's the uncle of these sisters, but he's also their manager, and he stammers all the time. He does that Porky Pig thing, you know, where you're trying to say something, you can tell what you're trying to say, but then you completely change it because you can't say it because you're too busy stammering, and it's like, oh, yeah, not funny at all. Charles King gets top billing as Eddie Kearns, and this guy, it's just a sleazebag. This is supposed to essentially our main character, but not. It's like we open up on him. He's one trying to also break into Broadway. He's written this song called the Broadway Melody, which the film insists on bashing us over the head with. It's like, look, we've got this great song, so we're going to use it about 4 times. And it's just like, by the time he's on stage singing this thing again for the 4th time, I just want to shoot myself. It's so dull. You know how most musicals, certainly these days at any rate, I don't know about back then, but most musicals these days, they have enough songs in them to make an album, you know, because that's what they do. They sell the album to the film. So you have a whole collection of songs. No, back then they had one song on which to pin the whole film, and then they will repeat that song to you again and again and again, and it just becomes severely irritating. Yeah, the character is a sleazebag. He's an absolute scumbag, and it's like I'm not entirely sure in what way we're supposed to relate to this guy, whether we're supposed to feel sympathy for him, that he's can't help but be attracted to the Anita Page character, even if that means he's completely cheating on Hank and treating her like garbage. By the end of the film, this guy doesn't get his comeuppance. There's no payoff in that regard. That, well, all right, you've been a sleazebag throughout this entire film, so let's get to the end of the film and see these 2 sisters really give it to you. Do you over? No, that's not going to happen. This guy's going to get away with being a sleazebag. He's going to get what he wants, and we, the audience, are going to be asked to go along with it. And not only that, we kind of insult the one character that's got any nouns about her, the Hank character, by calling her essentially a tramp at the end. And she laughs along with it like we're supposed to laugh along with it. And it's really offensive. I'm not one of those guys, you know, who likes to kind of look at his... I think you have to put it in context. And I think the context here is that the time that this film was made in most certainly wasn't the times we're living in now. Now, there are certain things in modern movies that I think maybe have swung a bit too far, and we could do with swinging a little bit back to the middle. But yeah, certainly not to this kind of filmmaking, certainly not to these kind of attitudes. It's icky. The whole time I'm watching this film and I'm waiting for these girls to wake up and do something against this system that is holding them down, that is telling them they have to be a certain way, and it's treating them like they're just women rather than they are women. And yeah, by the time you get to the end of the film, you don't get any of that. The status quo just seems to not change, and you're kind of left scratching your head thinking, what was the point of that? What was it actually about? Was that meant to be like a comedy? Was that like the 1929 equivalent of like a rom-com? I've nowhere else to go. It's shoddily made. Sometimes the audio kind of dips in and out as well. Obviously, again, benefit of doubt, given how old this film is and how early of a talkie it is. There really is very little to recommend this. Even the musical sections, I say sections, you know, when they played that song again for the 4th time or whatever, you know, there's a couple of other little musical numbers in there, but none of them are interesting. The songs are completely unmemorable, and the way that they're staged, it's like, okay, we've got a 3-minute musical section, guys. Let's just put the camera on a tripod, on a static, right at the back. We'll treat this like theatre. The audience have been to theatre many times. We don't need close-ups. We don't need mid-shots. we're just going to go on one shot right at the back, play the performance through, boom, it's 3 minutes of screen time right there. It's not good filmmaking. Even at this point, you know, you look at what the likes of Fritz Lang was doing in the silent era. There's no excuse for just saying, oh, well, he's a talkie. So, you know, and it was early film days. So that it's not that it's bad filmmaking. It's just that it you know, it's not as good as you get today. Well, yeah, years before this, Fritz Lang made Metropolis. Malay, you know, made A Trip to the Moon and used techniques in that that were far superior to anything that's going on here. So, yeah, there's no excuse in that regard, context or no context. This film's terrible, absolutely terrible. Don't watch it. Do yourself a favour, I guess. If you have suffered the indignity of watching Broadway Melody, or The Broadway Melody, let me know what you think of it down in the comments section, I guess. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, cracking.